I actually like him more in the show. But yeah, Matthias is a character that I'm like, oh, he has more potential than I think I gave him credit for. Like, I like him more
That's
than the
true.
book.
And because the actor who plays him, that man is fine.
Yeah,
He's so good looking.
that's probably part of it, if
That's
we're
that's
honest.
100% of it, I think.
It's probably, listen, give me some credit. It's like 90% of it.
95.
95.5% of it. Like,
Hello, welcome to the Fangirl Feels podcast. My name's Tanya,
my name's Olivia.
and we're Fangirl Feels. Every week, we give an emotional analysis of all of the popular books, movies, TV, music that we consume and that you probably consume too. So tune in every week. We upload an episode every week, typically on Mondays. We're still figuring it out. Probably it's going to be Mondays. And then we also started something called Fangirl Fridays. We broke out. It used to be part of our full episodes, but we broke it out. And so you can expect that every Friday. We talk about specifically what we consumed that previous week so that it's more relevant, more on topic.
More
more
more relatable, maybe.
more relatable, more trending, maybe. Those would
More
be those episodes.
trending.
So if you are in watching or reading something, you're like, oh, I wish I had someone to talk about this with, or listen to other people dissect it, you can listen to this one, these deep dives, or that episode. They're both great.
I mean, I think we're great. So
We're great.
done. Like, obviously, it's great. We're
Subscribe.
great. Subscribe. Subscribe. Follow, subscribe.
Like, follow, subscribe. So our Fangirl Fridays are typically shorter, and then our deep dives might be longer. They might be the same size, but these are typically more in depth on one topic specifically. And today, get ready, Christopher. So we're talking about Crooked Kingdom because I just finished the book.
I'm so happy. I'm excited for you. I'm so happy. Oh my gosh. Where do we even begin? What do we do?
Where do we begin? I have so
Where do
many
we begin?
thoughts. My first is that it was long. It was.
Yeah.
It took me like 2 weeks I listened to most of the books I consume. It took me like 2 weeks.
Really? Okay. I mean, that's actually not too bad. 2 weeks is fine. Like I actually thought it took you longer.
Okay, just kidding. I do think it took me longer. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So I was like, I feel like you
Was
could
it
say
a
you've been
month?
reading it for a while.
Okay, I take back everything I said. So I do think it maybe took me a month.
That's okay. I mean,
What is
that's not
time?
bad. Time is relative. It's not real. It's a social construct. It's fine. No problem.
I did move so quickly from the first one, and then I moved on to Crooked Kingdom like the same day. So that was good. I got them on Audible. I couldn't wait for Libby because those are backed up for years, you know?
It's true. They're literally years.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. But that's good. No, a month is fine. And I understand. Like, I don't remember if it moved slower. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, a month is fair when you're doing other things. And you said you read like 2 books at the same time typically. So makes sense.
I've recently stopped that, but typically, yeah, I'll be like doing two, one on Libby, one on Audible. I'm gonna have to stop that. It was just too much for now.
I don't know how you do it, how you like concentrate. Like I would forget like what's going on. I forget everything.
Like, I need like a more intense book where I'm like deep into the plot. There's lots of characters, and then I'll have like an easier book that I consume like more towards the evening where I'm not like right before bed, right? Like where I don't have to like process as much, because if it's like I'm reading Crooked Kingdom at night, I'm remembering characters. It's a longer book. That's one of my critiques of the book, which we'll talk about, our reactions. Just it was long, and I just felt like there was a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, and there was a lot of scheming, and it was hard to keep up and remember. And so I would suggest to people, if you are getting into this book, probably reading it's better than consuming it through audio, because obviously you process it better, your brain. That's how your brain works if you're reading it as opposed to listening. So I wish I did read it, and maybe perhaps one day I'll go back and actually read the books.
I can agree with that reaction. I listened to them in audio form, like when I read them back in, I don't know what year, 2018. I think that's the year. And I think we've talked about this before. I attribute the audiobooks to me not remembering as much as I probably could, because I remember a lot of things about like Harry Potter, for example, right? Because I read those books like physically, at least for the most part. I mean, now it's been several years, but some of the books I've read via audio, it disappears faster. I've noticed it, like the information disappears faster. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that.
That series just gone.
It's
Don't
just
remember.
gone. Yeah. I mean, I would say that about like ACOTAR. I love picking on ACOTAR. That's like a theme of this podcast is we pick on constantly.
We're ACOTAR haters, but also we like it too. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Love-hate relationship with ACOTAR. Um, but I don't remember. But that could be also just the writing of ACOTAR, but I don't remember a single thing that occurred in those books. And like Six of Crows, I remember moments, like Crooked Kingdom. I remember specific moments, and I can remember the overall. Do I actually remember the overall plot? I actually know anything about it. Do I remember? I think I do. But yeah, it disappears faster. Point of what I'm saying. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And for context, because in case people haven't listened to our first episode, Olivia, back in I think like March, talked about the Shadow and Bone Netflix series, and that's go ahead and listen to that. That was a good episode. And we talked about like our history with this book and this series. So if you don't mind talking again about how'd you get into it and when, how long ago?
Yeah, I got into it in 2018, what I call my book reading renaissance. My book reading renaissance was approximately from 2016 to 2018. I read this in 2018. And it was just a really I was on BookTube. BookTube still exists. I mean, TikTok wasn't really a thing back then. And it just came up all the time. It's like one of the best like YA novels, like fantasy novels ever written. And I think Crooked Kingdom came out in 2018, I want to say. So that might have been why it was like more visible because it just come out like the second book. And so I read it and it was great. I actually had to read it. I think I said this in that podcast episode. I read it twice. Like I started Six of Crows originally and then didn't finish it because I couldn't get past it. Because like if you don't know the like Grishaverse, it's really hard to read. So I was like, I don't know who Kaz is. I don't know who these Grisha are. I don't know what powers are going. This is weird. So I just like didn't finish it. And then tried again and it stuck the second time. I guess I just like pushed through. And yeah, that was that. And I think I read them in the course of like a month, like both of them. So that's my history with it, really. And then I was like, this is a great book. I'm obsessed. And then I go on to I read then Shadow and Bone afterwards. Then I went back and read the original trilogy. And then in 2020, the Nikolai books came out. And then I read those. So
I didn't even know there were Nikolai books. I've been seeing that she drops books, and like there was one dropped recently, like in 2022, and I had no idea. I was like, is this just the crew again? But so it seems like it's following Nikolai.
yes, there's a Nikolai duology, King of Scars and like Rule of Wolves. I don't know if she came out with another one. I don't think she did, but it's two books. And King of Scars came out 2020. I remember because I read it during the pandemic. Maybe it came out like late 2019. I don't remember, but I read it in during the pandemic, beginning of the pandemic. And then Rule of Wolves, I want to say was like 2021. I want to say. But yeah, and I don't know. I think she's written like other books in the Grishaverse, like a side story about the Darkling. Didn't read it, but I'm pretty sure there was. And there was one about like the Saints. Like she's written a lot of things, but like the main storylines I think are those like three main book things, like Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows, and then King of Scars.
Listen, I just need a side book of just Ben Barnes following his life because I
I
would
mean,
read that.
don't we all? You should read this book then. It's something I think it's actually a graphic novel.
Oh, done. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, don't quote me on that.
I will. And I just
Like,
tweeted
you just
quoting
quoted
Olivia.
Olivia. Cancel her if she's incorrect. Like, oh my god, so sorry, I didn't know.
So I thought that we could give our high level thoughts of this book if you remember. If not, we are going to go kind of part by part. There are, I think, 5 parts of the book. I forget how it's broken out in the actual book, but we've broken it down in for this discussion into 5 parts. So high level thoughts, if you remember. I'm sure you've forgotten specifics, but what were your thoughts after reading this book?
Yeah, I don't remember specifics, but I mean, I remember reading the book like it ends like you now know how it ends. Spoilers, I guess we should like say spoilers.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert episode. Yes,
Spoiler
there's
alert.
spoilers.
I mean, Matthias dying was like unexpected to me. I was like shocked by that. But the part that got me the most, I know we're just talking high level thoughts, but the thing that like really stuck with me was that scene with Inej at the end where she's like reunited with her parents. For some reason, that like that's the scene I think that has stuck with me the most. Like I will be, yeah, like just going about my day and I'll just think about that moment and I'll be like, I need to sit down. I need to sit. Like it just really got me. Like I just remember crying. I cried at that part. I didn't even cry at Matthias. Like I was sad about him dying, but I cried more at that part because I was just like I don't know why it was so emotional. I just think it was a really like for a duology, I thought it did a good job of concluding it. Yeah, I'm sure there was convoluted parts. Half the time when they're discussing the like actual heists, I like don't know what's going on. You know, you're just like, I don't know. They're climbing something. Something's being climbed. I'm not sure.
They're going somewhere, and
Yeah,
sneakily. That's all you need
sneakily.
to know.
I'm just imagining like a video game. Like that's all it is. The point of the books is like the characters, and like that's the parts that really stick with me. Is like these really big character moments, I think. What about you?
I love that. That like, and it's true to who you are that you tend to gravitate towards book that have great character building. I think that's I think I follow that as well, like that thought process. Like again, like Akatar, the only thing I remember are the characters, the plot. Who is she? Who is she? Where to go?
I'm not convinced there is one. I don't think I think it's just a book of characters hanging out.
That's it. And I
That's
want to
all
hang
it
out
is.
with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
want to
nice.
party.
Not mad about it. Agreed.
But yeah, I have similar thoughts, and that's good to hear that you also kind of lost track of like the details of the heist. That's where it kind of lost me. Sometimes I was like, what is happening? Which heist is this? Who's Pear Haskell, Pekka Rollins, and then the third guy, Van Eck. There are three dudes that are the big baddies.
The big
Pear,
baddies.
Pear Haskell isn't. He's a part of the Crows. I was confused though. So that was an issue in my mind.
Very good point. I don't know. I don't know who they are. Who are these people? I don't know. Van Eck is Wyland's dad, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't remember what he does. I don't remember. But you saying the three of them, I'm like, yeah, I can tell you. I don't know. What did each of them do? Like, I don't remember. The Pekka Rollins is like Kaz's, arch nemesis.
Yeah.
Yes.
The big baddie, the big boss.
Yeah.
That like it's revenge. And then but for most of the book they follow, which wasn't expected from the first book, because Van Eck was apparently on their side in the first book. And in the second book, Van Eck is the the intermediate boss. He's the
Yeah.
middleman to get to the big boss. But it was confusing to me about like all the connections. I almost needed to like see like a map of how they're all connected.
Yeah, these types of books suffer from that, I think, where there's just too many moving parts and too many characters that kind of all sound vaguely the same. You're just like, I don't know. I would feel that way in a movie too sometimes. You're like, who's this person? Who's that? Like, what are we doing? Like, yeah. So those books suffer from that
Yeah.
for sure.
I will say that I like Six of Crows better. It got us into the characters as the reason we all continued to the second book. Crooked Kingdom was also good, and I appreciated the ending. I didn't cry when Inej died, but I not died. Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine? Like, no
I
way.
thought that she would. Okay, so leading up to the end of this, Olivia told me that there was a part at the end about Inej, and that she and Olivia and her friend cried. And this whole time I'm thinking something bad is gonna happen to Inej, and I'm gonna have to fight Lee Bardugo.
I
Something's gonna
know. I
happen.
knew. I knew that you thought this because, like, I think we had this on in an episode where you're like, "I'm really nervous about Inej," and I wanted to tell you, like, "No, Inej is fine." That's like not why I'm crying. Why I cried. I recognized it was deceiving
I was
because
so worried.
a character does die, just not Inej.
Yeah. And it's cool. Matthias, I liked him, but I'm like, I was sad that like he went through so much with Nina. Like they didn't really get to be happy together. Like they
Yeah.
finally reconciled, and like, but it was through a time of like war. Like they were out doing heists and fighting people, and like so that's what I was sad about. They didn't get their like happily ever after. So that was
Yeah.
sad to me. But yeah, Inej, I was like, she deserves the world based off what she's been through, right?
Yeah.
With staying in the, what is it called, like the
The menagerie.
menagerie.
Yeah, the like
Like
brothel.
any of those girls deserve the world like afterwards. And so like she had that background, and then she was taken from previous to that, she was taking her faith from her family, and she still somehow keeps her faith. And and she's so nice to everyone. She's so empathetic, and I'm like, she deserves the world. If she dies, I'm canceling
She's the perfect
Liberego.
character.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. No, I agree. That's why that scene like means so much to me that like has like found her parents for her and like that just because like yeah, it got me so much. I was like, I can't I it literally makes me an emotional thinking about it because I'm like I think because like I understand like I have a similar relationship with my parents that like I would run to, right? Like it's just so emotional to me. Yeah, and she deserves it. Like it's like the least that she deserves. She's so great. I love her.
That's true. It's the two-parter of like Kaz did that for her after being so closed off for a long time. He's
Yeah.
being vulnerable. He took off his gloves and she went and saw her family. And it was actually unclear to me, is Kaz going to follow her on the ship? It sounds like he's staying and she's just going to come back every
Yeah,
so often.
that's what I think it is. Because like in one of the like I guess spoiler, I don't know if you'll read them, but like I mean they kind of hint at this actually in the Shadow and Bone show where she like joins that ship. Do you remember like at the end of Shadow and Bone in season
Yeah,
two?
and you posted like the meme like, "Girl, where are you going?"
Where are you going? Like we haven't gotten here yet. Because that's what I mean. Like so that poor like her going on a boat to like be like a like to find slavers, like to kind of stop people that like put her in the position, like the slave trade essentially. Um like that happens at the end of Crooked Kingdom and like follows through in like King of Scars. Like you sometimes meet up with her in like in the later books or Rule of Wolves, one of the two. So you're like, what is going on? Like, why is she on this boat now? Like, girl, come back.
Come back.
Come back. You
Oh
haven't
man.
gotten here yet. Like, come back.
My thought was I can now understand that book readers were super confused during the show because they mixed up the timeline
Everything.
so much. Everything was misplaced, and I don't know why.
There was no good reason. Yeah. And like, yes, it's exactly it. Once you read it, you're like, what are we doing in the show now? Like, where are we going from here? I don't understand it. When is it cat or when is Inej coming back? Because she's gone now. That's weird. And like, what's going on? Like, we have to go to the ice court. Like, what's happening? What's going
Cardi
on?
B, that's weird.
That's weird. It's so
Yeah.
confusing. I don't know what. And now because of the writer's strike, we'll never know what they planned.
Yeah.
We'll see if the show even gets renewed.
Seemingly at the best part when, we're focusing on the crows. So,
Yeah, exactly.
and Alina Starkov is still alive. So explain this to me. Did she die in Shadow and Bone? And then the show's continuing?
Yes. So this is where I said like if you wanted to read Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows has a spoiler, and that is that Alina is still alive. She dies. She doesn't die in Shadow and Bone. She dies at like quote unquote dies. She doesn't actually die. She like fakes her death in the last book. I forget what the last book in the series is. There's like Ruin and White Rising. I think it's that one. The last book in the trilogy. She like pretend dies and she loses her powers. That's another thing too. Like she doesn't have. I think does she lose her powers? I think she does. She loses her powers and she like fake dies. So she becomes like a saint, but she's actually just alive, living her life with like Mal. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's how it ends in those books. But in the show, so in Shadow and Bone, you're like are kind of spoiled. Like people think she's dead,
Yeah.
but she's not actually dead.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yes,
right.
indeed.
Well, now we can go through each part of the book and talk through our thoughts on them and how we might also talk about like things that happen later on in the book. So again, spoiler alert, we already gave it to you, but again, spoiler alert.
Hello, it is Olivia from the future, and I'm here to inform you that the following series of events is a case study on not to rely on ChatGPT for information. We start reading out these descriptions, and slowly but surely, we realize that everything it's telling us is basically wrong. So please enjoy this chaotic episode in which we try to discuss this legitimately, but due to my, lack of recency of reading this, we get very confused. But we figured it was funny enough to keep it in here because it's just a funny case study on ChatGPT. So anyway, thought I would warn you. This is Olivia from the future. Please enjoy the
So,
following
truth
then.
be told, we did use ChatGPT to kind of give us a synopsis of the book, and it broke it down into 5 parts. And so, we're going to read each of the parts, the paragraphs that explain each of these parts to you, and then we'll talk about them, dissect them together. Part 1: A better plan than yours. So within this part, Kaz Brecker and his crew are dealing with the aftermath of their heist on the ice court, where they successfully captured Kuwei Yulbo, a shoe scientist with knowledge of a dangerous drug called Jerdapiran. Jan Van Eck, a wealthy merchant, double crosses the crew and refuses to pay them for their services in retaliation. Kaz decides to execute an intricate plan to bring Van Eck down and retrieve Inej, who has been captured, that was said. Kaz enlists the help of his crew, Inej, Jasper, Nina, Matthias, and Wylan. Oh my, I love them. They begin their plan by abducting Van Eck's son, Wylan, and holding him hostage.
I do love that. They're like the best crew. The 6 of them. My murder children, what they're called.
Murder children.
My murder children. I love them.
Isn't it a murder of crows, right? Doesn't that make sense?
Oh,
right?
is that why they're called murder children? I didn't come up
Is
with
that
that.
why you coined it?
No, I didn't coin it. I just say I call them my murder children, but I didn't actually come up with it.
Yes. Fun fact, a group of crows is called a murder.
Wow, relevant.
And do you want to hear another fun fact? I actually learned this past weekend. We played a game called Wingspan, which we should play together if we are in the same state at any point.
At any point.
But we Googled this past weekend, and a group of ravens is called an unkindness.
Oh, who came up with that? That seems.
I don't know. I think it's related to Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know.
It has to be. Because I'm like, that seems. What did ravens ever do to you?
Right. Yeah, that's rude. Okay.
That's
like crows
ravens
get murder and then they get unkindness.
People don't like birds, apparently.
I think so.
I don't like the birds. It's funny.
But anyways, yeah, this group, it's so funny. So this is the first time we meet Kuwei, and I think like throughout the book, I think a critique of the book is that like they didn't focus enough on Kuwei. I felt like he had a really like tragic background, and like people are obviously racist towards the shoe, and like they're misunderstood, and then he was kind of like a captive to work on Jerdapiran with his dad, and then his dad just passed away, and we just glance over it. Which is
very true. Yeah,
don't focus on it.
It's true. He doesn't really have like any major point. He's just kind of like a tool in the like larger game. Like, doesn't at some point like Wylan pretend to be Kuwei, like something like that? Like, doesn't something happen there? Flipped? Okay.
Opposite. Yeah, Kuwei is attracted to Jesper, and when Wylan is tailored to look like a Kuwei tricks Jesper into kissing him, which is actually not cool.
That's kind of messed up.
He didn't give his consent. Yeah.
No, that's kind of messed up. Which again then is a critique. I do remember this. And that's a critique to like the show again, where like Wylan and Jesper are just like, again, no issues with their relationship in general, but like why are they together all of a sudden in the show? Like, we still have work to do. We didn't get here yet. I'm confused.
It's not earned. I think that's the word used. Like, we didn't earn it yet, and it was just rushed. And same with the Inej and Kaz scene with like, will you have me? Says like that we didn't earn that yet.
No.
And they just sped through that.
They did it. They like gave us like giving me chocolate cake when I didn't have dinner yet. Like, come on, didn't get here. Although I'm an adult, I can have chocolate cake before. I can do that. But still, that's the point.
Side note, Olivia heavily relates to Nina because she loves waffles, by the way.
Exactly. I like literally didn't know that could be a personality trait, right? Like when this was a thing for Nina, I was like, I thought this was just a me thing. I didn't realize that like an author could write this into like a character that like she loves waffles. Like how random. This is just one of my quirks. And she likes it. I love it.
She like repeats it throughout, so you know it's a part of her character. She loves sweets, and to eat in general, but she loves sweets.
Yeah. It's like she loves sweets. She loves waffles specifically. I'm like, wow. But I love her. She is one of my favorite characters too. Like I do love Nina a lot. I don't talk about her enough, but I love her.
She's great. She was like a comedic relief along with Jesper. They're just a funny gang.
They are. They are. Each character you like, you learn, you do, yeah, learn to love in their different ways. They're so fun. Part two, the uninvited guest. The crew discovers that Jan van Eyck has been using Wyland's mother, Maria, to try and manipulate Wyland. Kaz and Inej infiltrate a masquerade ball hosted by Van Eyck to gather information. They encounter Pekka Rollins, a criminal rival of Kaz's, who reveals that he knows about the crew's plan. Inej is captured and held hostage by Rollins. Did she get captured twice? Inej got captured twice?
I don't know why they repeat that, but that was her being captured. So that was when she was being held in a facility.
Okay.
And I think Van Eyck was threatening to like hit her shin. So like she was already captured and they were all thinking of ways to go get her. So this was like in the span of like I think like a week. It's like she got captured and then she didn't eat. So someone would die if they did that. So I'm assuming this happens over the course of like a week to a couple days because you can't survive.
Yeah, I do remember this. The whole breaking legs thing, I remember, like, got me because I was like, poor girl, like, her entire identity is around her, like, ability to move, right? Like, her legs are, and I mean, I think they talk about that in the book. Like, she talks about it. Like, what am I without this? Like, this, like, her ability to move and her, like, wraithness. Like, she's just, she went through a lot. Poor Nej.
She's been through so much, and that's why I was like impacted by that too. Like she's taken. What
Yeah.
of all the people, take Matthias. It's fine.
I know, right? Like poor Matthias. I love Matthias. I like you learn to like him a lot in the end, but during it, I was like, he's like I'm neutral territory to Matthias for most of it. Like no, I like him. He's fine. Not my favorite, but he's fine.
I think that's because for most of the time they like he just reconciled with Nina. So that's why it's like we had dealt with him being kind of an asshole to Nina for so long. So that's why we're like, whatever. But that's true. Like he does, you do warm up to him.
Yeah. I actually like him more in the show. That's probably one of the only things. Yeah, like that I think the show, I mean the show is not terrible overall. Like the first season especially was good. But yeah, Matthias is a character that I'm like, oh, he has more potential than I think I gave him credit for. Like, I like him. It will be like sadder to watch him die in the show.
That's true. And because the actor who plays him, that man is fine.
Yeah.
He's so good looking.
That's probably part of it.
That's 100% of it, I think.
It's probably, listen, give me some credit. It's like 90% of it. 95.5% of it. This is why we say this is an emotional analysis of pop culture. We don't say this is objective by any means.
Right. Yeah. Did they kiss? Are they hot?
Next. Are they hot? Did they kiss?
That's our critique. Everything we critique. Who kissed and how many times?
Did they kiss? Was there enough chemistry in the kiss? Yes or no? We'll see about that. No, he's
we'll
good
give it
looking.
a 5 out of 10 kiss rating. Thank you.
Kiss rating. Oh, we should do that at some point. If there's like a show we analyze, we should like have a kiss rating.
Okay, done.
That'd be fun. I like it. Kiss cam.
Kiss cam.
But it's true. Yeah, Matthias is more appealing in the books, or in the show than in the books.
I believe at this point, Wyland doesn't look like himself. He again looks like Kuwei. And I thought that was interesting because I thought that was going to be permanent. I was like, how is this going to be undone? And then also they didn't focus. This was confusing. It was that they didn't really focus on Nina's journey to recover from taking the Druida Parem. They like kind of skipped over it, and they later talk about it during her portions of the book that like she survived. But they were basically explaining like nearly everyone dies from it because of the addiction, and then but she survived, and they didn't really talk about it. So that was kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but you're right. Yeah, she does take it. Yeah, she does show up. If this gives you any incentive to read the other books, she has a pretty major role in the Nikolai books. Like she has her own chapters devoted solely to her, and I actually love her story in those books. And part of it is like her recovering from, like Matthias's death, and then also recovering from like the effects of Judah Perem and like what it does to her. So I do think they give it more time in those books, but I agree. Like I do remember that being like, oh, she just like survived the unsurvivable. Okay, whoa, amazing. I'm happy about it. I'm not mad, but like, okay.
Amazing. Yeah. And also she's the queen of the dead, so amazing. Love it.
Yes.
10 out of
Love
10.
it. 10 out of 10. She's incredible.
All right. Part 3, brick by brick. Oh, I love that theme. Brick by brick. And that's me as Kaz, by the way, who I'm not going to play as Halloween probably during
Oh, that'd be
Halloween, by the way.
amazing. No, you should be a Nej and James should
That's
be
true.
Kaz.
No,
Oh,
you're right. I was like, I'm going to be Kaz and James is going to be a Nej.
that would be so funny, actually. That'd be amazing. You should do that. That'd be so funny.
Switch it up, you know.
Switch it up.
All right, part 3, brick by brick. Kaz comes down with a new plan to rescue Inej and take down Van Eyck. He negotiates a deal with Councilman Hode, don't remember this person, who has a grudge against Van Eyck, and they form an alliance. The crew devises a plan to kidnap Van Eyck and bring him to Hode. They successfully execute the plan and interrogate Van Eyck, discovering that he doesn't actually have Kuei Yulbo.
Interesting. This entire part didn't give me any memories. I don't remember.
I don't even remember this. Wait a second.
I don't remember this.
ChatGPT wrong? It could be.
It could have just. It might just be making up a story. It's just making up. Cricket Kingdom.
Who are these people? Hode? Am I saying that wrong? Like, because it's like based off of like Dutch culture, like the names, like, and I don't know.
This website, okay.
Yeah, please do. Please correct us like live while we're doing this.
I will. Okay.
I've let this is great. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Let's see.
This is probably the parts where I just like, you got to get through it, Tanya. You're not going to remember. And this is probably that chapter.
I don't think this is real. I just think you made something up.
Do you think? Okay.
Councilman Hode. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. I wrote Commander Hode. Maybe that's part of the problem.
That's what's happening. Okay. I remember. I don't remember this. I had to remember it. So
yeah, I do remember the pregnant wife thing. Yeah, because isn't that like they like threatened to bury her? Like he like buried her, or no?
That was the son of Pecker Rollins.
Okay.
That happened. So maybe we're just going to the next one.
That happened. We don't know. It's fine. Part 4: Knife in the councilman's back. Kaz reveals his true plan to Van Eyck, which involves exposing his illegal activities and stealing his wealth. The crew takes control of Van Eyck's businesses and resources. They learn that Kuei Yulbo is being held by the Dime Lions, a rival gang. The crew devises a plan to infiltrate the Dime Lions' hideout and rescue Kuei.
I'm so confused again. Wait, because they have Kuei. They learn that Kuei.
I don't remember this either.
There was a whole plot where they were lying to everyone and saying that Van Eyck had Kuei. So I think this is accurate. I just don't remember.
I don't remember either.
This podcast falls apart.
It does. Maybe we switch. Maybe we switch to we just talk about each character. Maybe we just talk about each character and not like the general plot. I don't know. How does that feel?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I think something... Because it is kind of right, but it's missing context of like, that was the plot, or that was the trick, was that like they had Kuei, but he didn't. It was a whole thing. So yeah,
I'm just like reading it. It like doesn't mean anything to me. I like don't know.
Yeah, we don't remember. We can still include this, and I think that'd be funny. To be,
it would be funny.
Just like we don't remember what happened, and I just read the book and I can't tell you.
Like what went on? What's going on?
I mean, that was okay. So if we include any of that, we are confused about what actually happened. And I think that is a critique of the book, because I literally just listened to the book like over the past month, and I can't remember like the specifics of the schemes.
Yeah.
But I remember like the characters and like what happens in their storyline. So like there's a lot of like sweet things. There's a lot of like sweet backstory with Jesper and his story and his mom and why he's ashamed to use his powers. And we also learn about Wylan and his mom, and like how sad it is that his mom's now in like a mental facility.
Yeah.
And that like builds revenge, a plot for revenge within Wylan. So like it all pieces together towards the end. And I thought the writer Lee Bardugo did a good job of explaining those histories along with the storyline.
Yeah, I think that's like the best part of this book. It's that like they're I like have said this before, and I think I said this in that podcast early the earlier episode we did was like Six of Crows is the competition for the saddest backstory between all six of these characters. Because like each one, it's like it's really cool to like watch them go and then like layer the layers of like why they behave the way that they are like just gets revealed slowly and just like in a meaningful way. It doesn't feel like out of place. It's like it's just done well. Like yeah, Jesper's backstory of like why he hid his powers is really sad. It's like heartbreaking. And they do that in the show. They show it in the show. But it happens so fast. You're like, what the heck? Like why are we talking about this already? Like that's like the theme of the show. You're like, why are we talking about this already?
It's like not as integral to like the storyline as it is in the book, because I remember in the show it was like Kaz brought it up. But in
Yeah.
this, I think in the book it was actually Wylan that brought it up, because Wylan's more obviously they're like they end up dating. So they're closer together, they're more vulnerable with each other. And there was like a
Yeah.
part in the book where literally Jesper's getting mad at Wylan for pushing him to be okay with using his powers. And that was necessary though for him to finally accept himself for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Versus try and hide it and like put it away. And like he like would throw himself into like gambling, right? Like that was part of it. Was I don't remember exactly where like the gambling piece came in, but gambling was a bigger deal, I know, in the books than it was in the show. And like he had that gambling problem. He like gambled away all his like dad's money, right? Like and then
Yeah. And then his dad shows up. Yeah. Like so he has a gambling addiction, and like it was one of the reasons that Inej got captured, because he accidentally revealed before they left for the heist that when he was gambling, like he revealed that like their boats on the dock, and
yeah.
Inej ended up getting captured. And so like towards the end, they ended up reconciling. Inej stopped caring. It was only Kaz holding it again against Jesper. And then they ended up getting into that brawl, which is hilarious. I can't wait. I hope they put it in the show because it was so funny reading it. Like they were fighting, and like Yue and Jesper, or not Jesper, sorry, Yue and Wylan were like, should we do anything? And the other guys are like, nah. Like literally like Nina and Matthias and Nash are just sitting there like, let them do it. Because they're not actually going to hurt each other. They just need to like get it out of their system.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That was funny. Yeah, it's funny that Kaz was the one that was like upset about it. And they're just like, it's fine. Whatever.
It's cool, yeah.
We moved on.
Does this ring a bell? There was like the white, like she wore like all white, like opposing to the Wraith, Inej, and they would get in fights. Do you remember her?
Wait, oh yes, I think so. That sounds vaguely familiar.
I forget her name, but she had similar
Yeah.
like powers as not powers, but like skill sets
Skills.
as
Yeah.
Inej. And so like they'd get in fights, and like they ended up getting in their final fight towards the end. Where they're fighting on top of some building. She ends up dying, but like it's because Inej learns from Kaz how to read people's weakest points, and they ended up bringing up that in the show.
They
But
did,
Inej
yeah.
learns like the weakest point of this like opposing character. I'm forgetting her name, so sorry, but
Yeah.
who's like technically like more like better than Inej, like more skilled. I think she had like actual skills. Actual training, like you can tell compared to Inej, but Inej has like street smarts, and so she ended up winning.
Yes, I do remember this. Yes. I mean, I remember it also in the show. You're right. They really just did everything in the show, didn't they? Like, even more than I realized. Like, what the heck?
Same, yeah.
Like, why did they
It's
do
all in
that?
there. What's left? Yeah.
Really, what is left? Like, what story are we telling? They really must have not been convinced they would get another season,
Yeah.
honestly. So they were just like, do as much as we can in this. Throw it all.
They pulled a Legend of Korra, and they weren't sure if they'd get renewed, so they just fit everything into the first season.
Yes, they did indeed. They did indeed. Oof, Cora. That's a tough one right there. Good. Still an open wound sometimes.
I know.
Yeah.
And the fact
too.
that they closed off the access to all the past avatars, that's what I'm hoping they reopen somehow in this
They
subsequent.
better.
Yeah.
That was a rough. Yeah, I remember when that happened. We're gonna become a core episode, but I remember when that happened. I was like, "Damn, this is terrible. This sucks.
Turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I hate this so much. This is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like they probably didn't have a plan because they didn't create a subsequent season. So I just wonder, yeah, what they were thinking.
Yeah, who knows? That must be, yeah, Shadow and Bone. Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, who we've talked about almost everyone except like Kaz,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about too, was like it's very clear Kaz in the show is not as scary as Kaz in the book. Kaz in the books is very scary and like very similar to Thomas Shelby in Peaky Blinders, who's like this handsome, like gangster man who like he doesn't physically look like he could kill someone, like beat someone up, and that's why I think Kaz looks like, but like just he's just like street smarts and like crazy. And so like he has plans on plans on plans, plan A, B, C, D to Z, you know? So like
Indeed.
they're very similar. And so in my mind, I was just imagining Thomas Shelby in Kaz's character.
Indeed. Indeed, he is. That's like I honestly I'm like I want to look up when Peaky Blinders started because I'm like, did Lee Bardugo just base this character off of the Peaky Blinders character? Because they even look exactly the same, just like
They look the
younger.
same because
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders, I'm pretty sure came out in like either 2013 or 2014.
Oh,
So
so
I wonder if it's
I think she did. If Peaky, okay, let's see, Peaky Blinders. Yeah, when did it air? I'm literally gonna look this up because I just looked up. Six of Crows came out in 2015, and yeah, Peaky Blinders started in 2013. I see the influence.
I see it because it's so similar. It's so similar.
It's like hard to believe that those would be like two separate entities come up with that same kind of character. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you
And
go.
every so often, like Thomas Shelby is kind of held back by he had a lot of trauma from the war, World War II, probably World War II. And so that keeps getting brought up. Like he can't get close to people. He's like can't be vulnerable. And you see that over and over and over with Inej. And like there's a part at the end where Inej thinks he's not going to take off his gloves. And she's like, cool, I can't fix him. This is not going to work out. I'm gonna have to just accept that I can't fix him. I gotta go do my own thing. He does take off his gloves, but I still feel like there's a sense of like this dude is broken, and that's like Thomas Shelby. He's broken. He cannot be fixed.
Yeah,
Girl, run. Get on your ship.
girl, run.
I
I
hope
know.
for better for her.
I feel that way so much about that relationship. I'm like, I love them together. I think they're adorable, but also Inej deserves better than Kaz. I love Kaz, but yeah, he needs severe therapy, serious therapy. Unfixable
Yes,
to some extent. Like, not that no one's unfixable, but like, should he be in a relationship? Maybe not. Maybe not.
maybe not. There was a point. It was so funny. I found it humorous when there earlier in Crooked Kingdom, like there's a part where you think he's getting close to an edge. Like she breaks through a little bit. Like they start touching because she needs help with one of her bandages. And I think that maybe this is in the show also. Everything I'm saying is also in the show.
Could be in the show. It's
She's
true.
fixing her bandages and they start like getting better about touching each other because she also has issues with touch. And obviously so does he with like the issue with his brother. And they start opening up and he gets too far in his head. And then he starts, I think, asks something about his future, like what do you plan to do? And he just like breaks and is like, I gotta keep fighting people. I'm not a good person. I gotta keep killing everyone. I'm like, what? The turn.
Yeah, like what?
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's true. This is
Mhm.
where like why like these shows are nice or these books are nice where you're like, I don't need to think about how realistic this relationship is. To me, they are happy. They are they are living life. Very
Yeah.
good. They're healthy and happy. They
Yeah.
text each other.
They
Good
text each
morning. They're doing well, aren't they?
other.
Although, I mean, yeah, Inej like leaves on a boat, like she goes lives her life, which is good. She should. She
Yeah.
doesn't need to wait around with him.
Yeah.
Independent gal.
Independent gal.
We
Yeah.
love her.
The best gal.
She is. She is the best gal. Ugh, I love them.
Well, to close it out, I do think I'm going to continue reading because I'm so interested in how things progress with Nina's new power. And I hope she gets over, obviously, probably never get over grieving, but like gets better about her. Because when we left, they just had the funeral. for
Yeah.
Matthias. So I do want to see her being happy. So I will probably continue, and I want to see where Inej goes and everyone else. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, you should. I liked the King of Scars duology. I was into it. Like some people didn't like it. I don't know. I liked it. I think like Nikolai, well, you just have to see. Like there's things about that storyline that I don't love, but I think it's worth reading if you like Nikolai and Zoya, like spoiler, Nikolai and Zoya. And yeah, the Nina parts, it's rare that like a book, like when books have like two parts, you'll like one over the other. You know what I mean? Like when it switches perspective and you're like, oh, I don't care about this character's perspective too much. Anytime I would switch to Nina, I was like excited. Like I liked both sides. So yeah, worth reading, I think. It's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening, stay tuned, follow, like, subscribe for that subsequent episode.
Indeed.
I'll read them and we'll talk about it. I don't know how soon, but at some point.
It's okay. We have other things to talk about in the meantime. Maybe next time I'll do a better job of familiarizing myself with the stories again. I think I remember those more, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see.
In all honesty, like I'm about to go on a trip, so I'm on pre-trip anxiety, and Olivia's on a trip, and so she just like is not in her regular space. So we're winging it.
We are
this week and kind of last week, so that's okay, everyone.
We're doing good. I think we've done good. Barbie episode was great.
So fun. Listen to that, everyone.
Yes, please.
We love that. We love doing that one.
We did. That was a good one. All Tanya. Tanya did a great job preparing.
Thank you. Thank you.
A+.
I love my co-host. We did a good job together, so.
Well, I love my co-host also. I love doing these hearts.
Me too.
They're fun.
They did an Exo Kitty.
Yeah, they did, because it is like a very Korean thing. It's like,
yeah.
Heart.
The K-pop star did it.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this episode of Fangirl Feels. Please follow us on Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. For our next episode, we release up 2 episodes a week now because we're really growing out here. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or Fangirl Feels Pod.
Apple Podcasts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the streaming channels. If we're not on a streaming channel that you want us to be on, let us know. It's just really easy to put us on
it. Yeah. I think we're also on iHeartRadio, but like who's on that? Who listens to that?
Let us know.
Yes. If you're on iHeartRadio, I apologize. But anyway, we'll be back later in the week in your feed for Fangirl Fridays, so stay tuned for that, where we discuss all the things that we're watching and listening and just kind of like chatting, where we read your feedback as well. So stay tuned for that on Friday. But until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Later.
Later.